The Russian occupation army has been advancing in Ukraine for over a year and a half, since the fall of 2023. Moreover, this offensive is taking place according to the same scheme with minor deviations, as was the case with the attempted offensive in the Kharkiv region. Today, the enemy's main operational goal is to capture the agglomeration of Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Kostyantynivka, Druzhkivka, Pokrovsk. The capture of regional centers, in particular Sumy and Kharkiv, is a desirable but completely unachievable goal of the occupier. If the aggressor country tries to attack Ukraine from Transnistria, it could end with the disappearance of this enclave. And what about a counteroffensive by the armed forces of Ukraine? Based on information from open sources, the Ukrainian army currently does not have the resources for such a move, but there is a possibility that the general staff will surprise the enemy, as was the case with the Kursk region. This opinion was expressed in an exclusive interview with Oboz Revitel media outlet by Israeli military observer David Sharp. To set the task of capturing the same Kharkiv or Sumy, you need to attract a very large group, gather it, and attack in the appropriate directions that are relevant for such an offensive. But, based on open sources, we do not see that such a grouping is being created. Several battalions in order to advance on a short section is not at all the same. And since we do not see such a grouping, the considerations about it are purely philosophical in nature. I will say more. Russia has been attacking since the fall of 2023 for over a year and a half. It has been attacking in approximately the same pattern. Yes, sometimes there are some surprises. For example, a small offensive in the Kharkiv region was, although not a surprise, but a departure from the usual framework. Within the usual framework, they press, look for weak points, try to slowly advance and achieve a collapse of the front in some areas, and then advance further. An example is Ocheretine, Kurakovo, Selidov, etc. In order to attack the regional center with large forces, it is necessary to concentrate these large forces and act contrary to the logic that we have seen for a year and a half. So while we do not see any groups, this is a philosophical conversation, but there are enough problems and their real efforts on other sections of the front, he added. Theoretically, I cannot rule out that somewhere the command of the armed forces of Ukraine will try to deliver a surprise with relatively small forces. To some extent, such a surprise was the offensive in the Kursk region in 2024. However, what this offensive led to raises questions. So the main thing is the availability of resources. If you have the capabilities for a successful offensive operation, of course, you cannot refuse it. But today the main task of the Ukrainian army, without connection with the negotiation process, is the most successful defense. Most likely, there are no resources for anything more, he told.
Over the past 24 hours, from May 25th to 26th, Russian troops lost 1,000 soldiers, 4 tanks, and 2 air defense systems at the front. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported a total estimation of over 981,000 Russian personnel eliminated during the war against Ukraine, along with substantial losses in equipment such as tanks, air defense systems, and more. Ukrainian aviation, missile units, and artillery successfully struck 8 concentrations of Russian personnel, weapons, and military equipment. They also destroyed a Russian UAV command center and an artillery system. Meanwhile, in the Kursk sector, Ukrainian defense forces continue to hold back Russian troops. Ukrainian defenders successfully stopped 26 Russian assault attempts. On May 25, 180 combat clashes were recorded between the defense forces of Ukraine and Russian invaders along the front line. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, throughout the day, Russian forces launched one missile attack and carried out 112 airstrikes on Ukrainian positions and settlements, firing 84 missiles and dropping 189 guided aerial bombs. Additionally, Russian troops deployed 3,005 kamikaze drones and conducted 4,961 shelling attacks. Airstrikes targeted multiple locations, including Osoivka in the Sumy region, Dova-Bacha, Oleksandro-Kalinov, Stepanivka, and Novopil in the Donetsk region, and Novodorivka, Huliapol, Malinivka, Malotokmachka, Kamyansk, and Sherbaki in the Zaporizhia region. Ukrainian aviation, missile units, and artillery successfully struck 8 concentrations of Russian personnel, weapons, and military equipment. They also destroyed a Russian UAV command center and an artillery system. In the Kharkiv sector, Russian forces launched 6 attacks against Ukrainian positions near Vovchansk, Stroivka, and Krasnopershn. In the Kupiansk sector, Ukrainian defenders repelled 2 Russian assaults in the areas of Krylyakivka and Nova Krylyakivka. In the Lyman sector, Russian forces launched 21 attacks, attempting to breach Ukrainian defenses in the direction of Rytkidub, Zelina Dolina, and Novy Mir, as well as near Kharkivka, Lipov, Torsky, and the Serebryansky forest area. In the Siversk sector, Ukrainian defense forces successfully repelled 6 offensives near Hryhorivka, Bilohorivka, and Verkhnyo-Kamyansk. The Kramatorsk sector saw 10 combat clashes, with Russian troops advancing toward Pretekine and Bila Ora, and launching offensives near Chasev Yar and Kurdyamivka. In the Toretsk sector, Russian forces carried out 10 attacks in the vicinity of Toretsk, Romanivka, Dylyivka, and in the direction of Novospask. In the Pokrovsk sector, Ukrainian defense forces successfully thwarted 63 Russian assaults across multiple locations, including Kotlyarivka, Malinivka, Lisivka, Yudakny, Zvirov, Troitsk, Yelizavetivka, Andrivka, Nova Poltavka, and Horokov. Russian forces also attempted attacks in the direction of Novomykolivka, Shevchenko-Pershi, Zoria, Muravka, Oleksivka, and Myrolubivka. In the Novopavlivka sector, Russian militants launched 24 offensives in the areas of Novopil, Kostyantynivka, Novosilka, and Viln Pol, as well as in the directions of Mern, Shevchenko, Komar, Zelin Pol, and Bahadur. In the Orikhiv sector, Russian troops attempted to advance 5 times, targeting Novodanilivka and Stepov.